Yo, what is up, guys? It's Vinny, and we're here with the second place Vanadium deck profile. So I went to a Wednesday locals. I went 3-1, but my only loss was because I used Cosmic like right before time. I just wasn't keeping track of time very well. But I had like the advantageous game state, so technically I would have won 4 matches without time, but of course I lost the time. So let's just get right into it. Obviously, you're starting with the three of the best card in the deck. It's the one card combo. You got to play 3 Heart. You want to see it. And honestly, it's the bread and butter of the deck. And then 3 Samsara. It's the new support card. Some people run it at 2. I think 3 is the right play just because it's not searchable and it's almost never going to be like a bad card to have in hand. It's really good because it's a tuner and a non-tuner, which is it's just crazy, just for no reason. Like, you shouldn't have that kind of capabilities. And it's a free extender. Like, sometimes you can bait out a lot of negates going second, and then if you have Samsara in hand to just keep playing, they're not ready for that. And then 3 of the last Starfrost level 4. Rykart's really good. It's a 1 card combo just like the other ones, and honestly, it's really not that bad to open. And any combination of these is good to open. So this list mostly is inspired off the Trif gaming list. I watched the YCS. I didn't get to go. The deck overperformed in my opinion. I think it was incredible. I was really surprised by how well it did, and the main deck is I'm pretty sure it's a complete net deck, but the side deck is where I changed, and the extra deck. Just because there's a few preferences that I have that I guess were different than his. Starfrost, 2 Starfrost. I think Starfrost is good, but because we have Samsara, there's other ways to get to it, and really, it's so searchable. Like, you play so many different field spells in this list. 3 Meek. I was previously running the Torrid. I think the Torrid wasn't terrible before the support, but now it just doesn't really make sense because honestly, you can make plays without the balls. And then really probably the best card, best non-engine, but I still engine, which is crazy, is the Fenrir's. These are Euro Ultras, so pretty nice. Cop those before the tournament. They overperformed. I play against Pearly. It kind of forces out the Noir negates, because if I special one of these and then I start comboing, either they don't respond and then I'm breaking their board regardless, or they respond, they lose materials on the Noir, and then the Fenrir banishes their Noir. Or if they don't already have 5 materials, I just enter battle and force out a Noir, or attempt to enter battle, and then it searches Kashtira, Scareclaw, and this card is just crazy in this deck because if you special summon this, you can link it in a Lightheart, get to the field spell, and you're comboing. And then we play the 2 main power spells, Terraforming and Rhoda. I got the secret Terraforming, but I need to get a better Rhoda because my Rhoda is just a common. The deck loses really hard to draw. It's something that Trif touched on in his list, and something that I've kind of been thinking about. And really, if you're not getting drolled, you're not losing. But if you are getting drolled, the deck is just completely shut off. So it's definitely a little unfortunate. But I would say most people are probably playing Droll as a side deck card right now. So that's why the deck's still going to be able to perform at that high level. And then 3 Calarium. It's the best field spell for this deck, I guess. Obviously, in the different Visas archetypes, you want to play more of their corresponding field spell, but in this deck, you want to play every single field spell, which is kind of crazy. But it's really nice to cycle through the field spells and have access to Visas. And you can even, if you open Wraith Soth, you can search Fenrir and then do that combo, which is nice. And something that I did a few times was I would special Fenrir, and I would also have Abscission. So then I would special Fenrir, search Kashtira, Scareclaw, and then Abscission away the Fenrir. And then I have access to Calarium. I have the Abscission Engrave, which is nice. And I have Scareclaw Kashtira to start comboing with that. So yeah, it's just really consistent deck. I mean, there's almost no bricks unless you open multiple Meek. Then we're playing 2 Reichphobia. It's not really that bad to open. None of the field spells are bad to open. And 2 Reichphobia is just so we have, extra resources for the grind game, really. Because I would say the biggest problem I found with the deck before the new support was the fact that it had no grind game. And honestly, it was just, it was like a turn 1, you put everything out, and then turn 2 or turn 3, you kind of just get, like, if they break your board, you're kind of just stuck with like really minimal resources. But now the deck is just, you do everything on turn 1 and you can do it all again on turn 3. And if you're going second, you're probably breaking their board and killing them in the same turn. So, and then we got 1 Wraithoth, 1 Pearl Rhino. The Pearl Rhino, there's no target in the deck except for Visas. So, it's really just there for the Visas. And the Wraithoth, like I mentioned, you can search Fenrir, you can search Visas. It's a really good card. And then for just the normal engine spells, we got 2 Arrival. I think 2 is the right ratio just because sometimes opening it and searching it is kind of funny. You just make extra plays, have extra extenders. It's not once per turn. And honestly, it's good for follow-up to have 2. And then 2 Obsession. It was at 3 before, but I feel like there's so many engine pieces now, you don't really need 3 Obsession. And there's a lot of engine pieces that are doing similar things or better things without having to have a monster on field to destroy. So just 2 of Obsession. The graveyard effect's probably the best part of the card. Imaginings, this card's crazy. You get to rearrange your hand. Any deck with the ability to do that is really strong. We got like the Kenningen stuff being played right now, so this is kind of like the Manadium version of that. Obviously not quite as good because Kenningen is just absurd. And something that Trif was running, the Realm Eulogy, I saw this on stream and I had to read this card because I was like, literally just didn't know what it did. And it's pretty crazy, but I still was a little iffy on not running the reframing in the main. I do agree that going first, you win no matter what. But in the off chance they're playing Dark Ruler, not a lot of people are playing Dark Ruler, but if they're playing Dark Ruler, you just auto lose if you don't have reframing. But it's obviously a really good going second card, and honestly, it's not bad going first. You just set it, and it's a free monster negate. And then some more defensive spells and like going second stuff. 3 Droplet. I've been thinking about the droplets for a while, so pretty much just seeing Trif running it and performing so well with it just kind of confirmed what I was already thinking. Droplets are always, I feel like droplets, as long as there's not a prevalent shifter deck in the format, these cards are always going to be playable. Like, this is a really good card. And honestly, with this deck, like, you have a lot of free materials. You play one of your normal spells, or you play, something, and maybe they impermanent, or like, I don't even know. Like, there's just so many free sends for the droplet, and like, the deck's really crazy. 2 talents. I think 2 is good just because it's a 40 card list, and obviously it's hard once per turn, but I didn't really see it that much, so that was a little unfortunate. And then 2 econs. Get the Legendary Collection, Joey Wheeler, Secret Rares, can't really see it on the camera. But I did not draw these at all during the tournament. Like, I never once had enemy controller in my hand. I'm not sure why, but it was just, I guess, just happened like that. Honestly, I don't think there was really a match where I was like, felt like I needed it. But it's definitely not a bad card. I was thinking about running it in the Rika deck, but that's just kind of something I'd have to find room for. And then I'll do some test hands at the end, kind of just play through a little bit of combos. And then for the extra deck, we got the 2 Lightheart. Got to get a second Prismatic. Mismatching rarities. It's good for follow-up. It's good to have a second one. It's just a really good card. The graveyard effect's really good. If it wasn't once per duel, it'd be busted, but it's still pretty good. Cross Cheap, this is like a really good Link to Extender. Obviously, you go into Astral Out, summon back. You can summon back the Samsara and then instantly Crimson Dragon, or you can summon back the Meek and then like pop the Meek because you probably already have Baron on field. So yeah, this card's really crazy. IP, I'm playing a lot of like IP targets, so sometimes a more passive end board rather than going like for a big Appaloosa. I can just end on Baron Dispatter, back row, plus IP, plus 1 material for it, and then I can either Unicorn or I can SP. This card is crazy. It's going to get banned. Probably not the next ban list, but definitely in the future. This card is never going to be surviving. Like, I don't know. I think maybe 2 ban lists, and that's depending on how Konami feels after the first ban list. I think this is like a necessity in almost any deck. Really, the only decks that aren't playing it are decks like Rika, where your whole extra deck has to be comprised of plants. But otherwise, I mean, this card is just insane. Probably the best IP target, and it has, you're banishing 3 cards off of it, which is just insane. And it refreshes the Baron negate, which I did multiple times throughout the tournament. So like they do something, and then I'm just SP, target itself, target Baron, and then they come back in end phase. And yeah, I mean, if they evenly matched you, you SP, like, because you're really like, they're not typically going to be able to mess with your stuff in the banish pile unless they have Dispatter. Unicorn, Trif's explanation was good. I didn't really have an interaction where I needed to discard the Visas card to get the Samsara alive, but I still think this is a good IP target, and I think it's a good going second card. And I'd definitely continue to play it. I'm playing the Appaloosa. I'm not playing Access Code. I think the deck's raw going second potential is probably able to, it can break through most boards without Access Code, and Appaloosa is a really good card against a lot of decks. Like Unchained, honestly, like put out a big Appaloosa, and that's really strong against them because most of their stuff is just monster effects trying to destroy their stuff. And then we got the Trisukta, nice little QCR. This card's really crazy. I would say it's definitely a one of. Like all the synchros are definitely a one of, just because the extra deck's really tight. But it does kind of feel bad when you can't use it a second time. Luckily though, reframing, this is a reframing target, so when you activate reframing in grave to shuffle back your Vanadium cards, you can hit this, and you can hit Riem Heart, or you can hit the balls, and so that's really nice for recovery for the next turn. And then we got Amritara. This card's crazy. Literally searches almost anything in your deck, like pretty much any engine piece. And it's treated as Visas. It's a level 8 tuner. So yeah, it's, really good card. You got Excel. Honestly, I don't know. I want to say I don't think I made this at all on Wednesday, but I definitely see where it's benefiting. Like, there's a lot of scenarios where you're going to need that Synchro 8 that summons back the ball, but the deck is really performing so well that you honestly never really make it. And then 2 Synchro 10s. These are probably the best Synchro 10s in the game. Baron has been a good card literally since it was released. I don't remember a format since it was released where it wasn't prevalent. Like this, the card is crazy. Obviously an Omni Negate's really strong. The standby effect is really strong, and being able to refresh it with SP just literally makes the deck that much better. Dispatter, this is basically an engine card, which is the craziest part. And then Crimson Dragon, It's really just to make the disc patter. Sometimes you can hard make the disc patter, but that's really only if you make the Excel, but mostly you're just doing Crimson Dragon, Target Baron, switch out. And then 2 Astrolabe. You summon back, or you shuffle it back off disc patter, so you can essentially run 3 without actually having to take up the space for 3. And so, yeah, overall, I mean, I would say the deck really did overperform for me. It was insanely strong. Like, everything is just, it's just so consistent, and it's so like oppressive, and you know your opponent's trying to play, but they can't because like you just have so many negates. And then for the side deck, this is where I really changed up the list a lot from the Trif list. Just there's multiple things about it. One, I don't like the idea of running 0 hand traps. I feel like there's some decks where you really need to hand trap them. And 2, I do not own 3 thrust, so I'm not running 3 thrust on the side. I'm only running 2. So 3 Crow. I think this card's good in the mirror match. It's good in the tier matchup. Good in a lot of matchups, like really like the Unchained, the Brandon Chimera, the Pearly. Like this is the Labyrinth matchup. This is such a good card. I would say this is probably top 3 hand traps right now, in my opinion, of course. So yeah, I would definitely I like to run this card. And it's not once per turn, so you run it at 3. Called by. When I go first, I side this in. I don't like to get drolled. They're probably siding in drolls if they're not main decking them. I'm definitely taking these out. Needless to say, this is literally the only reason I lost. Now, definitely it was partially my own fault. I probably should have been watching the time better, and I honestly probably could have waited and just not activated the Cosmic and taken my draw. But every single time I've ever ran this in a list, I will lose the time because of the Cosmic. And I think it's really just I need to not side it in when we're going close to time. But sometimes I just underestimate how long the turns take. And then 2 thrust. Most of the time it's a going second card. I pretty rarely side it in going first. There's only a few matchups where I want to debarrier them, and that's the only time I'm going in, putting it in first. So Change of Heart. I think this card's really crazy. It's good against Unchained. And it's really, it forces out, like going into the Vanadium board, for example, if I Change a Heart, they almost have to negate it because otherwise I'm just going to take like an Appa or a Baron or like, I don't know, you're going to get a lot of value off of this resolving. Herald, just the Pearly matchup. I would say I can't think of any other decks that are really like depending on a tower that this deck can't get over, but Pearly is really like the main reason for running Herald, and it's still definitely a really good deck. Harpies, you gotta run the Harpies. I feel like no matter what deck you're playing, you gotta have a Harpy somewhere, just because this is an insane card. If you're playing Vanquish Soul, if you're playing Labyrinth, if you're playing Rescue Ace, even like I had a Rescue Ace game where I Harpies and then I even lead them. I still lost, which is crazy. I do think I misplayed, and that's probably why I lost. But definitely, this card is a necessity. And going first target for thrust, debarrier. It's pretty good. But I didn't use it at all. Evenly. I would say this is one of the best board breakers. Obviously, there's a few decks that can play around it, but it's still really good, and it helps to like some of this stuff. Like really, you're just watering down their board, and then you're using your engine to break through the board, and then build your own board. And then for the last card, we got Reframing. We decided on going first, and yeah, so that's it. We got a 40 card list. Obviously, 15 card side, 15 card extra deck. And let me shuffle this up a little bit.